This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites, like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies, like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Have you ever covered a carpet stain with a rug? Ignored a leaky faucet? Pretended your half-painted living room is supposed to look like that? Well, you're not alone. We've all got unfinished home projects. But there's an easier way. Thumbtack is the app that makes it easier to care for your home. Pull out your phone and in just a few taps, search, chat, and book highly rated pros right in your neighborhood. Download Thumbtack and start caring for your home the easier way.
Better way, better way. Hey, better way, better way. Better way, better way. Hey, what will you choose today? Hey. Welcome to our podcast, A Better Way Road. What choice will you make? What road will you take? I'm your very grateful host, Telda. I believe that there's a crisis of crime due in part to a crisis of choice. We come together on A Better Way Road to help in navigating the journey of choice making in a judgment-free lane. We're sharing the stories of people who are finding a better way. Now, we're not experts. Any advice or opinions are solely the pathways of our guests. So buckle up, pack some snacks, and let's begin our trip up A Better Way Road. And talk it out together about a better way, better way. Better way, better way. Better way, better way. I'm so proud of you, 'cause you choose a better way. Okay, well, hey, welcome, Jason, to A Better Way Road.
Hey, Venus.
I appreciate you riding with me today.
Love it. Enjoy the view.
Enjoy the view. Enjoy this. You know, we're not going to talk about it's 127 degrees outside today. So we'll roll, hopefully with some air. If not, then we'll catch a hot breeze.
Oh, that's all right. With the windows down.
With the windows down. Well, I'm here with Jason, and Jason is a former youth director, now arts teacher, and I've had the honor and the privilege of knowing he and his family for some years now. And you all already know that on A Better Way Road, we strive that the focus is helping young folks find their way, kind of find their purpose and their mission and just what their passion is. And once you've identified that, you're more likely to take steps in your life to live that out. So we're going to explore a little bit with Jason, but Jason, I wanted to tell you first, I went back and I got some reviews on your former youth directing days.
Watch out.
So some of the things I got were, and they're all positive, that you created a positive culture with folks. They felt safe talking to you. I had one young person say that you were the fun adult that you wanted to be around. Like most of the time, you kind of avoid that.
Adult's a loose term.
Yes, it is a very loose term. It's like, when do we actually grow
Never.
up?
You're right there with me. So.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
But that you, one young man told me that you actually spent some time checking up on him. He suffered a great loss in his family. And even though he hadn't been in the youth group for years, that you followed up and circled back around, to check on him. Said you were very innovative and creative. You created that youth space that really, according to the youth I talked to, really defined their purpose and their space within the community. So that was kind of a cool thing. You were huge on.
The space was mattered to me because it had to feel like it was their own.
Oh, there you go.
If it's not, if they didn't feel comfortable, in where they were sitting, if they're in the basement of a dingy, wherever building, they're not going to feel open. They're not going to feel comfortable. And the biggest important part for the space that I wanted to do, was make it a fun, relaxing place, but also their own. Especially with, the kids who are from the neighborhood and across the street. They had to have ownership in that place. And that was really important to me.
That was, and it was evident because it really was kind of an abandoned looking place. And you went in there like a whirlwind and made it it was kind of reminded me of sort of a 50s diner,
right.
But it was cool to go in. It was cool to go in and cool to be in. And the youth from across the street, they would just, they would come and you would never turn anyone away.
No. And in fact, it got to the point where they would, I know your son's name is Jason, but we also had a younger Jason who lived across the street. But
okay.
We had, so it was just the J crowd.
Yeah.
But he got to, there was the group of them that cared about it so much that if they had kids coming over to play basketball or hang out at the house when it wasn't actually church time or anything,
right?
And one of them would eat a fruit snack or something and throw it on the ground, they would get yelled at.
Oh.
Not by me, but by them. And so we had to get garbage cans brought over there because they were like, you're not going to be messing with our territory.
Wow.
And so the teen house became an avenue of, hey, this is ours, not just, hey, this is the church's or this is Jason's or anything like that. So.
Wow. And you always looked out. We recently had a high school graduation of one of the young men, and there were many young ladies as well, but who was a direct result of kind of going across the street and just making the invitation known to come across, to walk across. So
crosswalk,
just come across So those are some of the things, and you had the voice of the voice of a leader, and people listened. So, and then I'll end the little, journey here and we know that without details, you are very prankable.
I think I'm the most gullible man on the planet. So,
well, that was fun, and I don't know that you reciprocated any of that.
No.
You certainly had, every right to do so. But that was kind of cool. Those are my experiences. Well, I'll stay on that just a little bit. I know that you used to take an annual trip to Tennessee to a large gathering. You also took the youth out of the country. The one that is most vivid in my mind is the Dominican Republic. So can you kind of talk about those two experiences a little bit?
So the one in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, we go down every year, and it's an annual trip to meet up with 14,000 other teenagers and adults. And the best part about the trip is not getting in there and hearing somebody speak at you, and that is a good part. There's a lot of great things. People's lives have been changed from things that speakers have said. But it's literally the best part in my mind from an outside point of view were the bus trips. We had a teen bus that I would drive,
yes.
Or some of the other leaders, like Big Mark, would drive, and
yes.
and the conversations that would happen on the bus, the opening up, the playing cards, the goofiness, the how many M&Ms can we fit in our mouth. Does that gummy bear stick to the window? Things like that. And so those were the times when you could really connect. The second part of that was at 2 a.m. when you're just sitting up and you got 7 kids in one bed, just talking about their lives, and no distraction from work, no distraction from school, sports, or anything like that. And so they get to a point where they are able to have a safe place where they can share who they are and what they're going through at that point. So that was, but you're doing that all in the midst of a safe environment. You feel outside of, it's not home, it's not at church, and it's not at with your parents right there. It's in a different environment. So I think they feel a little bit more available to let down their guard and open up a little bit about who they are.
Yeah, and like I said, a person who another comment I got was that you genuinely listened. It wasn't just like, okay, now I got to move on to this other thing. Like, you listened and you followed up.
Always.
So it mattered. What you said mattered. And so the people I'm speaking to now, years ago, they're adults now, kind of like I said, a boys to men or a girls to women scenario. But that you were definitely a part of that. And you talked about Mark. Mark was someone that I would absolutely plan to have on, but he was born in New Orleans or lived in New Orleans and talked about some of the struggles he had growing up as a teen, lost many of his, classmates to death. Was toggled between, pressured to go into a gang and those kind of things, but navigated his way through it. Came to Indianapolis and was really, really instrumental in working with you in getting the youth to the other side, getting them through that and past that. So they're, again, Mark did the driving, cooking, whatever. But I always love to see the camaraderie that you all had in, kind of tag teaming the youth to get them from point A to point B.
Mark was always the giant playground.
Yes.
They jumped on him and played on him. So, yes. Especially your boys.
Yes.
But, I do remember one trip specifically to Tennessee with your boys, and there was the doors were they were glass, and you could see a football through it, and you could kind of squeeze your hand in there, but they couldn't squeeze their hand to get the football out, so they pried it open and broke the door.
Oh my gosh, whose children were those?
I don't know, but I do know their father was there, so I didn't talk to them. Their father talked to them.
Ruh-roh.
But it was the most fun because I didn't have to play the bad guy. So so I had to drive the whole way home from Tennessee in February with my hand out the door, holding it shut.
No.
And I'll never forget that. But on that same trip, that's not what stood out to you. The same trip, they brought a friend.
Okay.
And he was his family wasn't part of the church or anything, and he was we went go-karting for the first time on this trip, and he was going very fast and having fun as we all were, and he got whiplash.
Oh wow!
And so he couldn't sit through the convention that we were at, and so his neck was in a weird place. So me and him spent the whole 3 or 4 hours out at the bus.
Wow.
And he had just reclined in the seat, and I just sat with him. And so we just hang out and talked, and we just watched movies. And so we just hung out. And I don't know what he got from, but I'll never forget it, where we just got to hang out. I just wanted him to know that it didn't matter if he was in the convention center or participating. I just wanted him to know that, hey, we can hang out and do our own thing, and it doesn't matter where you're at. And I don't remember the conversation. I just remember us laughing, and he slept. But it was just a point that we needed to make sure that he knew that he wasn't alone, and that he always was going to have someone that was going to watch out for him if he was ever around us. So
that made I don't know if you really fully understand the impact. He was raised without a father, and didn't really, a lot of other siblings around, and so for him to get one-on-one time, for someone to sit and listen and just take in what he was saying was rare. So to this day, and that was, I'm going to guess 10 years ago, he still talks about that.
Wow.
So we're still in contact with that young man.
Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous person.
Yes.
But he still talks about that. And the fact that you took the time, the fact that he talked, you listened. Apparently he has some things on his heart, and it just was, sorry for the occasion that brought it to it, but it formed a lifelong bond. I have no doubt in my mind he could pick up the phone and call you now.
Absolutely.
Are you the same with him?
Absolutely.
So those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. Those connections, those, slowing it down enough so that you're there for a purpose, but you're not so heavily agenda driven that you're missing out on that. Shift over to, again, there are many mission trips, but I'm thinking specifically of the Dominican Republic.
Yep.
What was going on with that?
So the Dominican Republic was a connection that was made actually 30 years ago. My leader that I was connected to was just leading a trip and got connected with someone. Loved it so much he left ministry and started just bringing people down to the Dominican. 30 years later, it's a huge organization. They don't just go and paint people's houses or anything. What they do is they actually have multiple different avenues that they try and connect with people. And it's not about, hey, let's shove something that we believe down your throat. It's, again, reaching out and finding out, who are you? What's your story?
Okay.
So what they do is they do medical. They send people down with dentistry and nurses and things like that to meet people's physical needs, medical needs. And there's also obviously construction where they build houses and things like that. But they also have a children's ministry. where they just go into different. Children are the most open, receptive of just pure love.
Okay.
And so they haven't been jaded usually. And then they also have a sports ministry. They found out people let their guard down a lot easier when they're just shooting hoops or throwing the ball. And so when they go, one of the things they do before they build anything, if they go into a new community and they buy a piece of land, they build a small little building that they can feed people.
Oh.
So they feed the neighborhood at different times. They feed the kids, and it's usually just fruit or beans or rice and things like that, just enough to give them meals. And then the second thing they build is not a sanctuary or anything. They build a basketball court. And so right next to the food. So if you build it, they will come.
Wow.
And so it's a hangout area for safety, and it's always fenced in.
Right.
And it's an opportunity that people can come and be safe and socialize with their community. So it's a community thing, not an individual, hey, come into this room and share all your deep, dark secrets. It's, hey, come to the community and we'll support you. And now I know you. I know your face. I know your... and then they add on to that building. They add on bunk rooms. Now they don't even add any sanctuary from that point. And they just kind of keep adding on. And the second level is always open, and then they'll add to that. And so it's about building on from what they learned there. And when I took the kids there, we went into a community that was on the border of Haiti and the Dominican.
Okay.
Which it's like living on that border is kind of like living on the border between the North and the South, and it's they don't associate with each other.
Right. I know one is French speaking, the other Spanish.
Yes, right. And they don't do well with each other.
Yeah.
But this community somehow was a mix, and they had never seen Americans before. So when we first pulled in our beat up vans, everyone was looking out their windows and kind of hiding and everything. And then we came and we literally were working with them, and the girls we worked and then in the park, we kind of had a play day. So the kids, half of our group was kind of playing with all the kids and the moms and the little babies and everything. And, and the rest of us were painting and doing some light construction work. So we left that day and we had made some connections, but so we didn't come back for 2 days. And we came back, and when we came back, you would have thought it was a 4th of July parade.
What?
They were in the streets cheering for us and waving at us and running. The kids were running down the side of the road.
They were waiting for you.
They were waiting for us. So
wow, and celebrating that.
It was amazing. It was so fun. So we had hula hoops and jump ropes, and we were just playing with bubbles and we didn't get as much done as we wanted to. But we definitely made some connections in the community that was fantastic. So
wow, yeah. So I mean, you got a lot done just in terms of, like I said, making that connection, that rapport. It's so, when young people get to a certain age, my perception is they sort of give this illusion like, I don't want to be bothered, I don't want you in my space. But in the meantime, they're really saying, yes, I really do want to be involved and I want to be a part of what's going on, and you all provided that.
Absolutely. We did pushed us out of our comfort zone a lot. We didn't just go to that was one community we went to, but we also went to, and we didn't know we thought we were going to go in and you're just going to go in and do some painting or play with some kids. But we would, one time we went, literally the place we were going to was an alley. Wow. And we're like, what are we going to do here? And they're like, just sit and wait. And eventually people started coming talk to us, and we played basketball, but it was on not a board and a basket, literally not a hoop, but a basket and jump rope and bubbles. And we just started talking and communicating with the community. And we thought that was rough, just out of our comfort zone. Then we went to a physical dump.
Oh, wow.
Where we had to descend down into about 15 stories down to the river, and where they physically it's garbage.
Wow.
Okay. But there's a community there.
Okay.
Communities live in the garbage dump. And so we started doing the exact same thing. And many of us had to take breaks because we couldn't stand the smell. We just weren't used to it.
Well, sure.
And but we have some of the best pictures of kids giving piggyback rides, and
God.
Again, you don't know what do we get done, what do we accomplish, what do we put? Do we have anything that we could post on Instagram? You know, that wasn't really what we came away with, and it was more about this community now knows that. And the part about the organization we worked with was called Go Ministries. It wasn't about, hey, let's build something and then they go use it. It was about how do we build up the community, and that when we leave, there's something there that can be restored. And their motto is renew, restore. It's amazing how they do that, not just with a 1-week trip of one group.
Wow.
They continue to do that throughout the 30 years that they're there. Their goal is they want to spread, they want to build 1,000 churches in 10 years. So.
Oh man, because you had an impact. You changed the community, and that someone said to me, a close friend said, sometimes the only Bible that someone may see is what you're doing,
absolutely,
how you're living. Of course, the scriptures are important, or whatever mode of meditation that you want to choose, that's fine. But the living action, when you feed someone, you fed them in my name. When you gave them a glass of cold water,
right?
You gave that in my name. So that's the action part of that.
We learned a huge aspect of, because I didn't go to seminary. I didn't go to school to learn how to be a youth minister.
Right.
Basically, it was look through the lens of a different eye. How is this person being looked at by everybody else, and how should they be looked at?
Wow.
What is a way that the best light that they can be looked at instead of the worst light? Okay. And that included teenagers, because how many people say, "Oh, you got to deal with teenagers every day"? How many, they're, "Oh, you got to deal with teenage boys. Oh, you got to deal with teenage girls." And instead of looking at the worst light, look at the best light.
There you go. So you were quite gifted at it.
It was just messing up a whole lot, and learning over the years. There's one more story about it. We went on a mission trip, and it was down in, and this was more me. So I shared other things, but one thing that impacted me, we worked with an organization called Group, and what we would do is you would go stay at the local high school.
Okay.
And you go to a community that's either very low income, and you would work with single mothers or widows or just handicapped people who couldn't do stuff for themselves, and you would help them around the house.
Okay.
So you would go, and there'd be 4 or 5 teenagers and then 1 adult. And you would work for a week on their house for what it was. And then you would eat lunch in the front yard, and sometimes you would have a devotional, just a thought for the day, and just to take a break, because they are still teenagers. We're not slave labor.
Right.
But we went to this gentleman's house who was, probably in his early 90s, 80s, and he was in a wheelchair, and he had a hard time getting in and out of his house because of the wheelchair. So we were building him a wheelchair ramp. He did not want us there, really. He was grumpy old man, and whenever his son would come by to help us find something or whatever, he would be yelling at us or yelling at him. And there was one time I didn't have the right drill bits for what we were doing, but we'd always invite him out to come sit with us and talk with us. And he had given me, or he had loaned me some drill bits that he had that looked like they were 100 years old.
Okay.
And they worked fine. And at the end of the week, I returned them, and he said, "No, those are yours." And I was like, "Okay, that's pretty special." And I still have them to today. And that was pretty. But the really crazy part about that story was how much he didn't want us there. But I got a letter from his son who told me he passed away. And but he said at his funeral, he had written a letter saying how much one of the high point of his life was having us come to his house and do this. And it impacted us a lot, saying that this is something he wanted to have said at his funeral. So it was just, again, being with people where they are. This was at his home, whether it's in the dump or in backwoods of Tennessee or sitting on a bus, it's about meeting people where they're at.
Wow.
And letting them share their story of where they're at, and letting them know that somebody is actually listening or care. So
wow. And I mean, who knows why he was, resistant, who knows what path, could have led him to that. But, the fact that he took that into his heart that way and you impacted that family, it would have been easy to have walked away and said, well, we'll just keep
he's
moving.
a grumpy old man.
Yeah,
right?
he's a grumpy old man, but we're going to, stay
Keep
put.
going.
Oh my gosh. Well, those are the exact kind of things that I'm talking about. And again, there's a lot of the key points is just that, stopping, finding out what the need is, meeting that need wherever it is, and working that, doing that service part of it. So, that's not, what is that? It's not lip service. That's the word I'm looking for. It's actual service. So,
well, so you have to get past the point of when if you're constantly walking down the road and your face is in the phone or you're on the phone or you're focused on the things that are going on in your life, you're going to be distracted. You're going to miss all the opportunities that are going to be in front of you. My kids joke, but I have a phrase that I stole from other people, but it's there's going to be opportunities in your life based on where you're at and who's in front of you. And you either have the opportunity to take advantage of that opportunity and build into that, or you can pass it up, whether you're lazy, whether you're in a hurry, whether you're not seeing it. And so my phrase is always, don't pass it up, pick it up.
Oh, I like that.
So the kids all know it and they laugh at me because I make it even to the point of if there's trash on the ground, you have the opportunity, you can either pass it up or you can pick it up and make this world a little bit better place.
Wow.
So I'll be honest, I don't do it 100% of the time, but the more you have your eyes open to it,
yeah, it's just the consciousness of it, the intentionality of it, to be able to do it that way. So those are, like I said, those, and I want to say it's 14 years you were involved in that. Even before I came to know you, you were with a larger metropolitan area. I want to say Wisconsin, something around in there. So you had a huge number of youth. So you've gone from a very large, diverse group to maybe smaller groups, maybe slightly less diverse. So you had that as part of your path. But before any of that, or at least during that time, you are an artist, and that was something that you. I want to explore just a little bit about at what point did art enter into your life? At what part did art make you happy?
Well, I was an artist who loved drawing all growing up, and loved art classes in school. My art teacher in high school paid attention to me. He actually was the one who paid for my first mission trip when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
And ended up going to college and got a degree in graphic design.
Okay.
Where I got my first job as a graphic designer. I worked there for 10 years as a graphic designer. Became an art director there.
Okay.
And was also a part-time youth minister, which is how I got to get into that field. So I always loved art. And when I moved from Wisconsin to Indianapolis, it was leaving graphic design to be a minister.
Okay.
And I always said I never left because I hated it. It was moving from a perfect job to a more perfect job. And so that I never left. Like our ministry we always made sure we had cool T-shirts and flyers and even getting to design and decorate the teen room was part of that outlet of creativity.
Yes.
Creativity is a big part of that. So now, when I was, I'm not old, but
yes,
older.
You are old.
I am old.
No, I'm just teasing.
I'm old. But I didn't know if I could do that till I retired, and so I looked into getting a teaching degree because I said, how can I still stay connected to teenagers and utilize the gifts and talents that I have just in a different way. So I didn't want to, I thought, hey, I can do teaching, but I don't know anything enough to teach anybody. And I got into the school through being an art teacher. So, and there's just a blessing of opportunities when you keep it open. But how I got in there is crazy. But that's a whole nother story. But now I'm going to be starting a brand new graphic design class. For that is brand new to the state. And the only reason I got it was because I was a professional graphic designer in my past, and otherwise I would have had to get accredited, and they don't have anybody on staff that can do that. So I got the gig. So
that's cool.
That's next.
Yeah, that cool.
Starts this fall. So
see that, and I remember as you were kind of in the contemplation phase, and I want to say you maybe either subbed or you were there part of the time, but literally the teenagers were gravitating toward you. They were like, "You are the uncle. Like you are the one." They had a situation or something they needed to talk about, so you were emanating that energy early on. And I want to say that it was sort of a light bulb moment in terms of, if this is what I'm receiving, kind of pre-teaching, that there was an opportunity for you to take the youth direction and those kind of things into the schools on a much larger scale. Yeah,
it was a light bulb situation. Yeah. I was student teaching, and my student teacher was actually 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
But he was my mentor.
I told you were old.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's hard when your boss is 10 years younger than you.
Right.
But we were talking with some kids, and I made a fun kind of activity, and they're like, "Oh, this is fun." And I said, "Yeah, I want to be the fun uncle sometimes," because he was the teacher. And they're like, "Oh, you're not the fun uncle." And I was like, "Oh, that hurts." They're like, "No, you're more like the dad." I'm like, "Oh, even worse,
Double
even
slam.
terrible." And they said, "No, we don't mean that. It just means like you're the one who he would be the one that we go and have fun with. You're the one who we come to if we have any issues or questions."
There you go.
And so I was like, "Okay, you saved it."
Yeah.
But that was the first time, and then I felt like, maybe there is a opportunity here to be on a different level. In a different location. When you're in ministry, you really have to wait you're kind of a fish in a fishbowl, and you have to wait for people to come into your fishbowl.
Oh.
As a minister, at least.
I hadn't thought about it like that.
When you're in the high school, there's 6,000 fish in your fishbowl. So, and you really encounter everything in between. So, all the different political ideas, all the different religious ideas, all the different bullying, language, sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Right.
And so there's a part that in the high school we've encountered things that you always knew were out there, but now they're in your face.
They're in your face.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I like part of the thing I like to talk about in the show is that we talk to people from Hallville to Hamilton County and all the in between, of the variety, the the diversity, there's several things that kind of run through people's lives that are always going to be, I don't care if you're here, United States, all across the world. I was at an airport not long ago, and I saw a 2-year-old, and I want to say he was maybe Pacific Asian, throwing a tantrum. Big old and Dad was trying to get him under control, and I just kind of chuckled to myself like, oh, they do that all over the world. Everywhere.
Yes.
So that's sort of what I think sometimes in terms of, navigating, your life, especially maybe through the teen years, early young adult. So I love the fact that, you've had that experience from areas that have lots and lots of needs to those that you wouldn't think would have the same kind of needs, but they're there.
Absolutely.
They're absolutely there. So through the art, and congratulations on being the first in the state to do that. You're gonna change the dynamic of that. But
other schools are doing it, but it's the first to our school. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but anyway, so I'll shift gears real quick, and we'll sort of kind of end on this with art being, again, we sort of started on the premise of, if you find your niche, you find what you enjoy, what you love. Now, that does not mean that people are going to become professional artists, that they're going to take that. But I believe art, visual art, performing arts, the creative arts, literary arts, it covers a lot of ground. I also feel like art is something that you can express your feelings in, whether it's the blues, whatever so in the visual art genre, What kind of things do you see, as people are kind of navigating through their life, what kind of things are you seeing manifested through their art?
Anytime in art, as a teacher, you have two obligations. One is you got to teach them what you're supposed to teach them.
Okay.
I mean, you have curriculum that you have to get through. You have to teach them 2 + 2, et cetera.
Right.
Even in the art world, okay, what are the colors? What are the primary, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So there are different things you have to get through a curriculum, and you have to teach that. Then there's the aspect of drawing out who they are in their art.
Okay.
And so, and having being an art teacher, you can have a little bit more flexibility. At least I am until I get in trouble. Is that I let them go in different avenues of, well, this is the way we're supposed to go.
Okay.
But we're going to go over here to the right because of your situation, because of your ideas, because of your experience, whatever that might be.
Okay.
And so, with art, it's expressing who you are, but you still have to communicate. At least in graphic design, especially, you're still trying to communicate an idea from either yourself or from someone else to express it to another person. That's not how all art works, but expressing ideas is a big aspect. And so, drawing that all throughout my life, having to understand that I express ideas differently than you do, Venus, and different cultures express and communicate in different ways.
Right.
And so art is a window into some of that. It's a window into either the person's way that they're communicating or their culture. And so you can see kind of where they're going. And so if you're passionate about that, you'll see that passion in their art. If you have you might not even have a lot of talent, but you can see, you'll take someone who has passion and expressiveness and communicative abilities over someone who has talent. Because you can take a really pretty picture. But if it doesn't express any emotion or if you don't have anything that gravitates towards it, it's just another picture. But if you have someone who takes the emotion and is able to capture that idea of where they're from or where they're at, it has so much more meaning and more power to it. So when you can take those tools and abilities that you have and communicate those through art, it helps establish who you are, and you will care about it a lot more than just something that, okay, I got to sweep the floor, I got to I got to mow the lawn.
Right,
so.
Right. Go through the chore. So, and it also, to me, it's like, our young people are, no joke, up against so much. They deal with stress on a level that we couldn't fathom. And so, and there are pressures coming from different ways for different reasons. We can't blame it all on social media. But anyway, to me, art is when they come into your space or an art space, they can sort of relax, maybe exhale a little bit, and with your instruction, pick up, whatever media they're using, and just relax and kind of let go. Do you see more opportunity for youth in that way?
Absolutely, especially depending on the media. I also teach ceramics. And when you have clay and you're just dirty hands, and I mean, you're basically playing with dirt.
Yes, playing in the mud.
And you're just making that mud into a sandcastle that looks a little prettier. So I emphasize that even in I'm going through getting ready for, first day of syllabus, and you got to go through all that. And last line on my slide is have fun.
Yes.
And it's cheesy, but I'm in art class. I kind of have perspective. If you have a final that's next period, guess what? I have my kids make sure, hey, go study for the final. Don't worry about your piece of clay.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, hey, take the opportunity. You have an hour and a half of unadulterated time that you can play. You can communicate. You can chill. You can express. And so that's something that I find is important in my classroom. So.
They're able to do that. And again, to me, it's like I grew up at a school that school could not afford art classes. And so I didn't discover that until my 20s or so. So I just think about the fact that they have an outlet to express, to have fun with it, to try different things, to be silly. So to me, just that space, allowing that space. So whether you're taking a structured class in high school, whether you're free classes available in the community, I know the Indianapolis Arts Center does some things that have a youth program. It's like, I just like, go find it. Go find the art. I don't care if it's sidewalk chalk. I don't,
Agree.
Right. I wouldn't paint on parents' walls.
No.
That's probably not a good thing. But as far back, when I said walls, I thought about like cave painting. Like, how many hundreds and thousands of years does that go back where art was important? So Jason, I'm thankful to you because, like I said, you have that bridge between staying connected to youth, through the heart of the art, the heart, the spirit, the creativity of it. So again, I don't care where you are or what junction you are in your life. If you can get some visual performing, something joyous in your life, I think you're going to connect in a way that if you bring joy into your life, that's what's going to come out of your life. And when you're up against it and you have to make some choices about who you are going to be with and what they may be doing and choices they're making, you will prayerfully be able to step aside and say, yeah, you know what, I've got some other things in mind now. So I thank you for bringing that, bringing light and joy and happiness, whether it's, in the DR or grumpy old men or being pranked at a youth function or
any day.
Or to do those things. So anything, I always like to not let my words be the last one. Anything you want to, leaving lasting messages you want to leave before we go?
Take advantage of the opportunities you have based on the skills that you have. If you have the skill to do something, you're going to love doing it a lot more. It doesn't mean you're not going to do things you don't like, but anytime you can take advantage of the things that you're skilled at, you will take it a lot farther than what you would normally.
That's absolutely correct. And again, the more you build your skill base, the more you are exposing yourself to other people. If you see someone ducked off and tucked off and, they're sort of by themselves, that's not as, people need time to themselves. But if you see that consistently, be a part of it, but also invite people to be a part of it as well. Yeah. So anyway, I always end with, until we see each other again, I urge you to merge onto a Better Way Road. Thank you, Jason.
Absolutely. It was enjoy the road trip.
Enjoy the road trip. And like I said, don't forget the snacks. Matter of fact, you were supposed to bring it was on the sign-up sheet for you to bring snacks.
Oh.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.